couple of teams, everybody in the Pac-12 won their opening game, and USC's 2-0. Oregon State looked good. Washington State looked good. Washington State will host Wisconsin this week. It's an ABC game, a night game at 6:30 in Pullman. And then also on top of that, Oregon State coming off an opening day win. They will play, actually they might have they play home against UC Davis. They'll be 2-0 after their win to open up the year. Both of them look good doing it.
Yeah, they did. And, we wait to hear their conference fate. Gloria Nevarez is going to obviously continue meeting with them. The AAC appears to be out on them. Their target is Army, and expanding east and not west. Mike Oresco said that. And, Mike Oresco, to me, I don't think he's at the point in his career where he's going to play the, will I, won't I game. Yeah, it does look like it's Mountain West or bust for those teams, and that might wind up being the better thing until the next round happens. So we'll see what happens for them. I think they're going to wind up with a great conference commissioner if they do, and Gloria Nevarez.
Yeah, I mean, she's been very proactive, right, and very much in the mix, and I think she was maybe quoted at one point, if I am remembering correctly, one of the articles I read was saying, if we don't get somebody at this point, it'd be kind of disappointing, given just how proactive they have been. So it does seem like if you were to place your bets, the Mountain West is probably the most likely for the two remaining Pac-12 schools. And then, the Army AAC thing, that was very interesting because we got Navy there, so Army-Navy would be a conference game.
I guess the follow-up to that news was they don't want to move the day of the game, so it would just be a they would just play a non-conference game, and the conference is big enough to where not everybody has to play every year. So
they all are now.
Yeah, so that'll just be a non-conference game because it's a week after the championship game, and moving the Army-Navy game to make it a conference game would kind of be an unfortunate thing in the calendar of American events.
Yeah, okay. You don't move it, but
no, go ahead.
What?
I hope not, because of the tradition. But didn't we blast away at the Rose Bowl because they didn't want to move what they are?
But they didn't have a solution. Like the Rose Bowl, this is offered a solution. We'll just make it a non-conference game and everybody wins here. And nobody's going to say, man, Army and Navy are getting such an advantage in this because they don't get to recruit.
I always try to bring a couple of different angles. It's just not a one-way street here.
Look, I wouldn't be so hard in the Rose Bowl if you're like, okay, good, then what's your plan B? And they're like, They're like, okay,
we're the Rose
here's
Bowl.
what we'll do. Instead of 2:30, we'll do it at 4:30.
Yeah.
Is Army
Last
Navy
offer.
trying to play just because of the sun and where that is? That's a big difference in what we're talking about.
Yeah,
but I mean, that's weird that it would be a non-conference game. But yeah, I mean, so long as it kind of stays as is. And I get what you're saying. Everything's changing, so why couldn't that change too? But, man, if we're going to preserve something, can we preserve that? Can we start there?
That would be the last bastion.
And then just
of
go,
hope,
down the list of preserving some other stuff along the way. But I know that Monken is not necessarily a big lover of the idea of being non-independent again. I think that he's a fan of them having that independent status. But I know that he's also acknowledged of, hey, there might be a time when there's not a choice, of whether or not we should still be independent. The same theory that people have with Notre Dame of they're eventually going to have to choose to be in a conference or not. And I still don't feel like we're really in that immediate space with them by any means. I mean, shoot, they're helping the ACC add teams. They're not even a full-fledged member in football. In football. Yeah, it would be weird and not necessarily what you would want, but it's also part of the reality of the situation that you're in with realignment right now, and this might be just a move that you have to do.
All right, you want to hold on here in case Rick Hart calls in, or you want to take a break here?
We're right in the that danger zone, so let's go ahead and hold on here.
All right, we'll hold on with that.
So I feel for Oregon State and Washington State that this is still dragging on, even though it's kind of starting to come into clear focus of what's going to happen. But, like you said, they both won. They're both right there, in the conversation when it comes to the Pac-12, and both have an opportunity to make a whole heck of a lot of noise because there's a lot of ranked Pac teams and, big storylines and big quarterbacks and all of that. So it's shaping up to be the kind of season that you hoped it could be through 1 week, mind you. But, I'm going to be rooting for those teams. I think, they're America's teams in so many ways. Oregon State in particular, but I think Washington State as well would love to see them both. I'd love to see them in the Pac-12 championship game. That would be amazing if we could pick and choose some outcomes. That would be sensational. But I do feel for them, and that's. The Big 12 came so close, and others have teased it as well, that you kind of think about, like, what would that be like if things changed dramatically? In this case, like a demotion of sorts, potentially. And it's hard to really wrap your head around. So I would think that there's, a lot of just confusion and kind of angst, but also excitement that there's at least some football right now to hopefully, take away some of the negativity.
And while we wait on